my fellow cosplay enthusiasts. Welcome back to my perfectly healthy expression of cosplay enthusiasm. I think in my case it goes a little bit beyond enthusiasm and crosses over into full-blown obsession. Hello, my name is Lainey and I'm obsessed with costumes. Today I'm going to be taking you on a tour of my Game of Thrones costumes, and I'm starting with my most recent costume, Cersei Lannister. I am wearing a piece of that costume today. I did Season 8 Cersei, the red gown with the purple undershirt. I have the crown. I've got lots of pictures that I can show you. I don't have any professional pictures of Cersei, but I have professional pictures of all of the others. So let's talk about the acquisition of the costume. I bought it on eBay. I'll be perfectly honest with you, I think I spent about $130 on it. I don't have the skills to make a fine gown of that nature. I do have the sewing skills to make something very simple, but this was way beyond my skill set. So I bought it and I feel like I kind of rocked it. I got the wig on Amazon. I have a video that I will link up in the cards to how I learned how to use a wig cap, how I learned how to conceal my bright red hair and keep it from peeking out underneath the blonde. I think that that's a pretty interesting video if you have trouble with wigs, if you struggle with getting your wigs to look right. I mean, I still struggle with getting my wigs to look good, but I have found some tips and tricks along the way. I definitely used those with my Cersei costume. I had no problems when I wore the wig out in public. What else can I say about this costume? Well, let me admit something. I love Cersei. Cersei is probably my favorite character. Even though she's wicked, I don't think she has a good heart, but I find her fascinating. And I find her the type of person who will actually do and say some of the most wretched things that all of us think every now and then, but would never actually do and would never actually say. I just find her fascinating. And I think I have a girl crush on Lena Headey. I just adore her. I adore every role she's ever done. An upcoming costume that I have is Maudra Farah from Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, voiced by Lena Headey. I just love that woman. I admire her so much. What is a girl crush to you? Because to me, it is exclusive to heterosexual women. It's not sexual, but it's more than just admiration. Like you desperately want to be friends with that person and you admire them maybe you want to be them a little bit. It's almost a little bit stalkery, but not quite because you don't actually stalk them. I would never actually do that. But it's not sexual to me. To me, if it's a bisexual woman or a lesbian, it's just a crush. A girl crush to me takes the sexuality out of it. But I could be wrong. So what are your thoughts on girl crushes? How do you define that? Because I'm really interested to know. That was way off topic. So let's just go ahead and do a little slideshow of some of my Cersei Lannister pictures because I had so much fun with that costume. I started with the most recent and now I'm going to go all the way back to my very first Game of Thrones costume. That was the Daenerys Khaleesi costume. Why did I pick that? Honestly, because it was easy. And of course I loved Daenerys. I loved her up to the very end and then it broke my heart. I won't say any spoilers. Well, I can't promise that. You know what? I will edit them out if I accidentally spill a spoiler, so I won't spoil it, I promise. So I loved Daenerys right up to the end. And I especially loved her in the beginning. I loved watching her go from this very delicate, very insecure, almost abused little sister of this crazy man to being this majestic figure. But my costume was based on what she was wearing when they were walking through the Red Waste on their way to Karth, and that was when she was really coming into her own. That was after she had birthed the dragons and she was kind of getting in touch with her inner Targaryen. I love that time period for Daenerys. So what I did was I went to the craft store, the fabric store, and I bought upholstery fabric, and that is what I used to make that costume. I did make the costume entirely. I did not make the boots, I did not make the wig, but I made everything else. I just made a circle skirt out of the upholstery fabric. I made the belt. I had to do a little bit of zhuzhing as far as getting it to look as screen accurate as I could. I took some wood chips and some pre-cut wood chips, and then I spray painted them. I glued them to elastic. I mean, my costuming sometimes is not very professional. I just kind of glue and tape things together. And then as far as the top, that was kind of the halter top, I built that around myself, and that's what I always do. I'm not a seamstress. I don't measure. I just hold the fabric up and I pin it where it needs to be cut, and then I cut it, and they end up fitting perfectly because that's the way I construct my costumes. So I wore the Khaleesi costume to the Renaissance Festival. I had a lot of fun. And then I also did a professional photo shoot where I did the Dothraki baby shower, and I was eating the horse heart. I love this picture so much. And that was taken by a friend of mine who is a professional photographer. You will see some really obviously amateur pictures in this video, and then you will see some very professional pictures in this video, and the difference will be very obvious. So I did that. That was a whole lot of fun. I also did, could you call it a costume? I don't know. But I did the dragon birth scene. So my friend and I went to this nudist park in Austin, Texas called Hippie Hollow. And so I'm just standing there butt-ass naked, covered in dragons, and it was glorious. It was so much fun. So I will show you what I can from that photo shoot, but I love that scene. That is one of my all-time favorite scenes in Game of Thrones, and I wanted to recreate that. It was probably the easiest costume I've ever done, although I did actually get 3 little Drogon plushies from the HBO website, and one of them I left as he is, and then the other 2 I spray painted to look like Rhaegal and Viserion, and I was really proud of that. I still have the dragons to this day. Oh, that's a spoiler. I'm not gonna say that, but I did some cuddling and weeping. There was some tragedy with the dragons. I won't say exactly what, but there were some sad moments involving the dragons near the end. So that was something that I was really proud of. That was a lot of fun, if I'm being perfectly honest. I find it very freeing to just walk around naked in public where it's acceptable. I would never do that where it's not acceptable, you know? Moving on to Roz, everybody's favorite prostitute. That costume was very easy to do. I got 2 yards of this tarnished gold silk at the fabric store. I basically just draped the fabric over my head, cut a hole where my head needed to be, then cut it the way it needed to be in the front, and then it was open in the back. So I cut a low, like a scooped back. I don't even know what it's called. See, I'm not a professional seamstress at all. But I cut out the back, and then I took some gold tapestry fabric and I braided it to, you know how she has that braided fabric that goes up the back in a couple of episodes. I did that, and so I was proud of that costume. I actually found some hair extensions that matched my hair tone at the time. If you've ever tried to find clip-in extensions, if you're a redhead, oh my lord, it is difficult to find the right shade. But I actually did find some hair extensions that matched. I put those in. I did this photo shoot. I also did, fuck, that's a spoiler. That's a big spoiler. forget what I said about there not being spoilers. There will be spoilers because I did Roz's death scene. I was so proud of this. So I found a bed and breakfast in Austin, and I looked at the rooms on the internet before I booked the room, and I made sure that they had a room that looked a little bit Game of Thronesy and that had a bed with the proper post so that I could do this pose. I fashioned bolts out of straws and feathers and duct tape and put them on me, and then my photographer friend, I think, photoshopped some of the duct tape out of that picture. But that I'm really proud of that photo shoot. When I posted those pictures on social media, I got heat for that. I had people coming down on me saying that I was promoting violence against women, and I promise you that I was not at all. I was just celebrating Game of Thrones, and Game of Thrones is a dark ass show. I mean, you talk about violence against women, Game of Thrones was the reigning queen of that for many, many seasons until the women kind of took over, and yeah, that was pretty awesome, if I do say so myself as a woman. But I don't mean any offense. If you take offense to that, I am so sorry. I would never glorify violence against anyone. This is just an homage to the scene in Game of Thrones, and I feel like we pulled it off really, really well. I also did a Tyene Sand costume. She was the one who had short hair at first. She was Ilaria's favorite. She was the one that kind of had the flirtation with Bronn. She showed her titties to Bronn. I think of all of the sand snakes, Tyene was kind of the favorite or the tolerable one because a lot of people really hated the sand snakes. I didn't mind them so much, but don't get me wrong, I did not love them, but I clearly loved Tyene enough to do a costume. The one thing that I did not do was I did not try to make the super cool sand snake boots. These. Usually when I do a costume, I don't really concentrate on the shoes very much. I wear what's comfortable, especially if I'm going to be at a convention, if I'm going to be at a festival. I don't want my feet to hurt, and I want to just wear my own shoes. And if they're not perfectly screen accurate, I don't give a fuck. There have only been 2 costumes for which I have made the shoes, and they were sneakers in both cases. The first was Gage from Borderlands 2, and the second is one that I'm currently working on, and that is Max Caulfield from Life is Strange. But ignoring the fact that I completely neglected to make the really cool boots, how did I make Tyene Sand? Okay, well, the first thing I did was I got on the Kmart website and bought a cheap-ass bikini top, a cheap-ass yellow bikini top, and then I covered it in fabric that looked really similar to the fabric that she has on the show. I also just got some plain elastic, and I ordered some snakeskin fabric. I looked for actual snakeskin. I could not find it. That's a lie. I found some. I could not afford it. That's also a lie. I refused to pay for it. It was just too much. It was too much. So I bought some snakeskin printed fabric, and I just wrapped that around the elastic to give that effect. I feel like it worked. I also made her necklace out of polymer clay, and then I bought a little blue crystal to mimic the antidote for the long farewell poison, and I just baked that in the oven. I think it turned out really well. I'm still really proud of that necklace. I still wear it even when I'm not wearing the full costume. I love that necklace. I also made Roz's Lannister lion necklace. I forgot to mention that previously. Moving on to Melisandre, this was another costume that I did not construct myself. I bought it on Amazon. I believe it was right around $100. You get the dress, it's a wrap dress, you get the cape, and you get the hooded cloak, all for around $100, so I felt fine about that. But also, this costume doubles as a soothsayer costume from the Fires of Pompeii episode of Doctor Who. I don't know if we have any other Whovians out there, but last Halloween, I went as a soothsayer from that episode. Fun fact, Karen Gillan played a soothsayer long before she played Amy Pond. And one of the Romans, I can't remember the character's name for the life of me, I could kick myself, but one of the main characters in that episode was played by Peter Capaldi, who went on to play the 12th Doctor. And I'm such a dork. I thought that was cool. And the Melisandre dress worked perfectly for that costume. So what else can I say about Melisandre? I had a devil of a time getting the hair right because I kept trying to find hair extensions that would work. I really didn't want to wear a wig for that costume. My hair was longer when I did the costume, and it was not quite this vibrant, so the red that my hair was at the time would have worked for like early Melisandre, like season 2 Melisandre, but I could not find extensions that matched my hair. I think I ordered about 4 sets of extensions and sent them back because they didn't match. I finally found a wig. I was skeptical, but it worked beautifully. And here are some pictures of my Melisandre costume. And those are all of the costumes that I have done thus far. I do plan to do more. I still love Game of Thrones. A lot of people really turned on it in the last season, in the last 2 seasons. It will always have a special place in my heart. A Song of Ice and Fire will always have a special place in my heart. So I will continue doing Game of Thrones costumes, probably forever. I will be in my 70s dressed as Olenna Tyrell. I promise you that. If I live that long, if I'm lucky enough to live that long, I will do that. So I want to someday do an Arya costume. I have needle. I don't look anything like Arya, but I'm very short, and where I want to do that costume is within the context of a group effort. I want to do an Arya costume when I get together with some of my friends, and we're going to be a bunch of different characters, and I am the shortest of the bunch, and so I'm the natural choice for Arya. I would love to do an outfit like circa the Hound and the Wolf Pup portion of the show. That's the costume that I would really like to do. Or maybe oysters, clams, and cockles. I'm not sure, but I definitely want to dress up as Arya one of these days. She is one of my favorite characters. Love her so much. And a lot of people keep telling me that they want to see me cosplay Sansa. I feel like I can't pull it off. I know I have red hair, but I am short as fuck. And if you have ever noticed, Sophie Turner is really freaking tall. I don't feel like it would read. I feel like it would look ridiculous if I did a Sansa costume, although dark Sansa, I really want to do that. So anyway, that wraps it up for today. As always, thank you so very much for joining me. Follow me on Instagram. I will follow you back. Throw me a pity like, give me some encouragement to make some more videos. Very special shout out to you if you are watching this video on the toilet. And until next time, stay adorably obsessed with costumes, because I got a lot more costume videos where this one came from. And who are you? The proud Lord said that I must that I must bow so low. Only a cat of a different coat, that's all the truth I